I think the only thing that I can say about this movie is I think that I might also get a PAL region DVD version of this, which is the only version with English subtitles, buy a PAL region DVD player just to have. I'm sinking $100+ into this movie, I think.
Yatterman!
Yatterman!
Yatterman! He is going around shooting. Wait. We'll save that for later. Welcome to Rough Cuts. I fucking love this movie.
We gave it a literal standing ovation at the end of it, and not ironically. This is not an ironic love for this movie. This is one of my all-time favorite films now. No joke.
I'm glad they did this bit. Yeah! Fuck yeah!
Fuck yeah! Holy shit! Like, woo! Standing ovation, yeah. Holy fuck!
You know how you wake up on like Saturday morning as a kid and you're just hyper and bouncing around on the couch watching your favorite show?
Yeah.
I got that same fucking feeling. How does that happen?
Distillation of a Saturday morning cartoon into a real life movie. Like, think of how we've watched the Underdog recently.
Yeah.
We watched Underdog.
Boring garbage.
Man, can you imagine if they had actually followed the cartoon logic to that full extent? And this is not like cranking the dial up to 11. This is them cranking the dial up to 11 and then being angry that it only goes that far, getting a wrench and ripping the fucking dial off.
Fuck the dial. We're going to 13.
We're going to plaid. Fuck this shit. We're going to go as far as we can. It goes.
Holy shit.
It's not something I can describe in a podcast. I have no idea how to visually describe the visuals in this movie in an audio form.
This movie is so fucking dense. We have a tough task ahead of us, my friend. So
we need second of this, every frame of this movie, you can pause and there's puns in the background. There's world building in the background. There's just
beautiful scenery, set design, great shots.
Holy shit.
Fucking jokes everywhere. Oh
yeah, they have seen, and the jokes are funny. They're legitimately funny.
Yeah.
When they're not, okay, there's one
when they're not
perverted.
When they're not
not exceptionally perverted, which is the one problem with this film. But if we want to pick nits, it is real perverted. But
would you say? Wait, hold on. Would you say this is not a cartoon for kids?
Oh God, no! Holy shit! This is by a gore horror director, and it shows. It does. This is what Scooby-Doo by James Gunn could only dream of being. It is that idea of where they release the James Gunn cut R-rated version of Scooby-Doo.
There's no way that R-rated cut is better than this shit. This is so good.
There's no way it goes as horny and as weird and perverted and gory in a way as this shit does. It goes way further than it's possible for that thing to have gone. There's absolutely no way James Gunn went that far. I can't believe that he would have done it. Holy shit, man. Holy shit.
Neither of us
This is a 2-hour-long version of this is a 2-hour-long scene of Scrappy-Doo peeing on Jackie. That's what it is. It's 2 hours of that.
2 hours. I mean, that's one way to describe it.
That's what it
It's
is.
not
It's the Scrappy Doo pee scene for 2 hours
You're not
and made good. Like,
You're not technically wrong. That's the worst part. So neither of us are familiar with the source material. I want to point that
no,
out. So
I need to
we have
become familiar with the source material.
no fucking idea if the actual 70s anime is this horny and fucking weird. I doubt it is, to be
I
honest.
doubt. I
But
don't know, because like the weird thing about it is, despite how horny and stuff this is in some ways, it feels like the most faithful adaptation of a
it has to
cartoon I've
be.
ever seen, because it
Yeah.
has the feel of a cartoon.
Everything is definitely not realistic in any possible way at all, period.
No.
So like you don't even get the inkling of, oh, this is just weird in like
Yeah.
a 40-year-old man trying to act as like a teenager kind of way. This is just a, oh shit, this is weird. Like I didn't, ooh, that's weird. How did that happen? That's fucking, I'm in. Let's go. This is great.
Well, that's why the horniness and pervertedness
Yeah.
of it, it's not as pervasive as we're making it. Although there
Well,
are definitely some scenes. Well, it's not in every scene though.
No, it's
not
not,
in
no.
every scene.
It is in a very classic anime way of like the cartoon character getting the hard eyes and like floating towards the woman
Yeah,
or whatever. It's very
kind of
90s,
Looney
80s anime,
Tunes.
even though it's 70s.
Or like, yeah, like it's kind of like a Looney Tunes cartoony pervertedness. Like it's
Yeah.
super perverted and it goes there, but it also is like, I almost give it a pass in a way, because it kind of,
It's so over the
feels
top,
like
it
you
can't
said.
be serious. That's why,
Yeah,
right?
and it's done also, again, like it has that cartoon logic, like you said, like it's almost like the Pepe Le Pew, like smelling the girl
Yeah.
and then like floating behind on her stench with hard eyes. Like that is totally something it would do, but live action and like
Yeah.
not ironic at all. It does it in a like full on.
This is just,
love this thing.
yeah,
This is what it is. Like
this
so we're
is
gonna
just
shoot
what
it
it
that
is.
way.
Fucking deal with it, viewer. And we're like, I'm dealing with it. I don't. All right, movie.
It takes every weird cartoon trope thing and just puts it live action and does it in a way that's both straight-faced and ironic at the
Yeah.
same time. I can't describe this fucking movie.
So
This thing is indescribable.
the source material is from an era where there were weekly episodes where the heroes would fight the villains, they would defeat them, and then they would come back next week like nothing happened. And this movie is literally that. It's like 3 episodes strung together, but not in a terrible way.
Yeah.
And then it ends with "see ya next week." It does the whole. This is a cartoon thing perfect.
Yes. Before we get into that, I almost didn't want to go into that because I want to
Yeah.
stop before we get into any of the
Yeah.
plot or anything like that. I need everybody listening to this to pause the podcast after I'm done speaking, obviously.
Yeah, no, right now, stop.
Yeah, no, right now. Just stop. But go get a PAL version of this. Buy yourself a PAL DVD
Yes!
player. Watch this fucking movie. We always say don't jettison the gift of us watching the bad
No!
movie for you.
You need to
This
see
time,
this.
don't jettison our gift of having told you that this movie fucking rules, and don't have us spoil it for you, because
Like,
holy shit.
It's a real tragedy that this movie only got essentially a UK release for
Yeah.
any English-speaking audiences, because like the source material is extremely niche Japanese anime, of course. It got a very limited English release, and almost nobody here knows about it. We found out the movie existed last week, and now we're like, holy fuck, I need more of this.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch every movie from this director.
Yes. This director, by the way, did the Phoenix Wright live action, the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. What was it? I guess it was the 4th arc.
It's Diamond is Unbreakable, the best
Diamond is
part that's
Unbreakable.
been done as an anime yet, and I am so in for it. Like,
Also, a ton of like early 2000 gore movies, like Ichi the Killer, which is just like
yeah,
so over the top gore. It's been banned in some countries. Like, holy shit! Like this
some
guy
weird shit.
is just wild. Just fucking. You sit down for a movie, you watch something that this director made, and you're in for a fucking ride. That's what this is.
Like, you need a seatbelt on your
Yeah,
seat.
I was on the edge of my seat. I was Oh my god.
I was
I've never been this
screaming and
excited.
cheering. Like, this movie needs to be done as like a Rocky Horror kind of experience where you can like
Yes.
throw popcorn at the screen and like scream lines along with it. Like, it's
And
got
dance
that
along to
energy
the
to it.
theme. And yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
They have
god.
musical numbers of like all of the opening themes of the show. Like, the bad guys have their theme and the heroes have their theme.
Oh
Like you
yeah,
said, like
yeah.
it totally distills down the exact format of a Saturday morning cartoon show, done as three separate things where it's like, oh, they have to find the three pieces of the skull stone, and so because of that they have to go to three different locations, and the enemies have three different mechs each time because this is a mech
Yeah,
anime
it
superhero.
totally is.
And like
Yeah.
it's set up that way, but like you said, not in a bad way. It's like 3 episodes put together, but it's like a 3-part episode, so it
Yeah.
makes sense, and it just does it so perfectly. It's, oh my god, I cannot say enough good things about this movie.
I could see this being a cult classic for like the States or UK, for anybody that actually has heard of it and seen it, but it's just so obscure right now, 10 years after it came out, by the way, that it has to be a cult classic. We're doing the world a service right now, and we are introducing you to your favorite film you did not know you needed. So
Yes. I'm
I'm
sad
just
that we're
saying.
not more popular right now. Not because I want us to be more popular, but because
No.
I just need a lot of people to see this movie.
We need more people to hoot and holler about Yatterman. That's
Oh
why.
my god, this movie. It is like, so I don't know how to get into the meat of this. Like,
Well,
we have
Yeah, we could go like
so much stuff. You
It's
wrote
so
like you must
dense.
have wrote 4 pages of notes.
I have at least 2 pages. Yeah,
I
I got the
stopped
bullet
writing
points.
because I just sat there with my jaw on the floor the whole time. I couldn't tear my eyes away from this film.
Okay. So, we're about to talk about the film. If it doesn't make any sense, just shut your fucking brain off and roll with it. Trust me on this.
Yeah.
So the movie starts with our two fidget spinner heroes, Yatterman 1 and Yatterman 2, which is I guess, guy-girl team, right?
Yeah, they're the guy girl, like, and they have like a magical transformation thing.
Yeah,
And
the classic magical girl anime.
yeah, it's kind of, I guess the Power Rangers thing that you said
It's
is
very
like,
Power Rangers.
yeah, because they have their superheroes, but then they also become a Megazord essentially, like they have their
Yeah.
mech.
Which we'll talk about the mech because that's how this relates to the dog movie podcast. Anyway, so
Yes.
we start off with a robot battle after some fighting on the ground, classic Power Ranger style, where the heroes are fighting the villains and they're punching each other and kicking each other and using their weapons.
They're tossing cars. They've got
yeah,
let's go
they're
into the
using
weapons real quick.
Giant extendable forks and spoons. And
That's that's the
toys?
enemies, because the enemies
Yeah.
are their mech this week, because they
Yeah.
have a theme every week, and their
Yep.
theme this week was their Mechanic Kitchen. And so
Mechanic
they've got
Kitchen.
a giant chef
with like
robot
a cooking robot. Yeah,
with
fuck
like
yeah.
a wok as its helmet, and
Hell
like
yeah.
a frying pan in the one hand and a big like knife in the other, and so they're using extendable forks and spoons as
Yep.
they're on the ground fighting before they get in the mech.
And our heroes are using a ball and cup
Yes.
and a tickle stick because they use toys because they work in a toy shop and that's where their base is. So their gimmick is
whole
that they
theme
use
is that they're
toys.
toys. And they do like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of nut shots in this. Like, it gets right into it immediately, where they're like constantly
Right,
just nut shotting these guys. The
Yeah.
enemies are obviously idiots. There's Waluigi,
Waluigi.
and Pigman.
Waluigi and his giant D.
Yes, Waluigi,
And-
his giant D, and the Pigman.
And
then
Pigman.
the S&M lady who rules over the both
And
of them.
Dominatrix Queen, of course.
Yes.
Our
yeah,
villains.
which is why she has the giant D on her head, because she's
Yeah.
dominatrix queen.
Yeah.
She's Lady Doran Jojo?
Something like that. Doran Jojo.
Yeah, God, something. Yeah.
So anyway, Waluigi has a certain quirk where he's an
Doranjo.
absolute fucking pervert.
Yeah, Boyaki is his name.
Yeah.
Actually, and he's got a he's very in love with
with
the S&M
dominatrix queen.
queen.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I believe the kids today would call him a simp, and I hate that term. But here
Then
we
why did you
are.
bring it up?
You're welcome. So anyway,
No.
Waluigi starts using his quote unquote carrot cannon after they get in the
Yeah,
mech.
they jump into their mech and they use their carrot cannon.
Carrot, big air
Yeah.
quotes, cannon.
Well, he did. He
His
pulls out his big D in the mech. The mech
yes,
pulls out its big D
yes,
and then
yes.
fires carrots at the carrot missiles at the other mech. Which
Yeah.
is this is how it ties to rough cuts because we saw the cover of this. You'll
Yes.
notice right away is a giant dog mech.
Yatterwolf.
Yatterwolf. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Yatterwolf gets blown the fuck up, and then
Yep. And then the villains are celebrating that they've defeated the heroes, blown
well
up the
because
dog mech.
hold up, they
Yeah.
have to do the heroes also have another thing that they do because
Oh,
this is a running theme where the mech gets blown the fuck up, it's all destroyed, and they're like, oh no, he needs his mech grenade, and they pull out a giant dog bone. That
yeah.
is the only way that this mech is useful. And they try to throw the bone into its mouth. So, like, obviously it gets beat every week. And it's like a Popeye thing, right? Like, it's
Kinda.
that logic.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, like, he's getting this shit kicked out of him. But then you toss him his spinach and, oh, God, now you're fucked. And it's that kind of thing. It's they have to throw the dog his dog bone. They go to do that. And this time, they manage to grab the bone beforehand, the villains do. And they fry it up in the wok.
They
and, like,
fry it up.
They stir fry
Smash
it. They do
it.
like a whole
Yeah.
stir fry, and there's like this whole animation scene, and they smash it across their wok helmet with the big butcher
It's
knife.
like
that they
it's like a
have.
pretty long. Hey, fuck you, hero. See,
Yeah,
like,
there's
like
this
they're
whole
dabbing during it and fucking.
Yeah, they do this whole
Yeah.
thing, and then they break the bone, and they're like, "Ha, we did it, and they're high fiving and slapping their console. And during that, Lady Duranjo hits a button. And it smashes the glass, and it's like whoop, 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 and they all sit there and stare at each other, and it's the big self-destruct button.
The best part about the self-destruct button scene, though, is she gets up, says fucking nothing, turns around, and just starts trying to leave the mech without saying
she
anything.
just walks out of the mech.
Oh.
Yeah, she hits it, and like normally that is also like a 10-second joke of like them just all pausing and looking at each other. That scene's probably a minute and a half long.
Yeah, they're like, oh,
it.
fuck, we screwed
They just
up.
hold on it for like 10 seconds, and then she slowly lifts her hand up. She stands up, like straightens her costume.
Yeah.
Looks at both of them, turns and walks out of the mech slowly. It's like a really drawn out scene. And it makes it so fucking funny because it's done long enough that it makes it amazing.
Yep. And then the mech explodes. The villains get shot up into the sky. Team Rocket's blasting off again.
Yeah.
And
I want to set a little bit of the scene, though, like, to give an idea of, like, just how absurd and, like, how much there's just scene setting everywhere. Like, when they start this fight, it pulls in and it's, like, Buzzy Boulevard or something like that.
Yeah.
Like a big bee statue. But it's, like, all destroyed and stuff because, like, there's this... You kind of come in media res... the middle of the action where the enemies have like destroyed this whole boulevard, and so like when the explosion happens, it like zooms out over the city, and there's like all these buildings that are crumbling because they've had this giant mech fight, and like they do this amazing job of setting up all of this stuff. And when the explosions happen, because they are skull themed, everything is
skull themed.
Absolutely everything. For the villains. When they blow up, it blows up into a giant like mushroom cloud that then turns into a smoke skull.
This movie has so much fucking style. It oozes out of every pore of its being.
I've never seen anything with this much style.
So after they explode downtown Tokyo, which is essentially Dokyo. It has to be different. It's legally distinct from Tokyo. Don't worry.
It's legally distinct is a big thing in this.
So after they explode downtown Dokyo, we go to the Indiana Jones scene, which is very important.
Yep, and we're not joking. It's fucking steampunk Indiana Jones.
Yes, steampunk Indiana Jones finds a blue floating, like, sliced piece of a skull rock. in the middle of nowhere with his donkey friend. And after he does the I'm picking up this relic thing, there's a like noise behind him and a ghost behind a tree. So
Yeah,
Indiana
weird
Jones
tentacle
is spooked.
monster ghost thing. It looks like it's made from like a bunch of black kelp.
Yeah, exactly. Like old Greg popping up from fucking I'm old
Yeah.
Greg.
Oh my god, there's some serious old Greg energy to this villain.
There is. So Indiana Jones is like, hello? Are you there? Hello? Hi, I'm friendly.
And he
Well,
whips out
I'm
his
not.
whip
I'm
and
old
stuff,
Greg.
yeah, and
Yeah.
does this whole thing.
He
Like
does the
he's
whip and
literally
everything.
Indiana Jones. Like
Yeah.
he's got steampunk goggles. It's in
Yeah.
the fedora, but with steampunk goggles. It rules.
So it turns out that old Greg is an evil ghost who knocks him to the floor, sits on his face, and then sucks him into his asshole.
Yup, and it's kind of not kidding when that happens. Like,
No,
that's not. We're not making a goof. It's like it's not even where like there's fart noises as he does it.
I can't. I still can't.
He sits on. We're like, whoa, what does he do? Is he gonna suck? We're like, he's gonna suck him into him, and then it like and like does it, and it just goes there. There is a running theme of us making a joke and the movie going way further than our joke did, and we're like, oh, okay. I didn't know how to riff on this film. It riffs on itself. There's no way you can riff harder than this film does itself.
He sucked him straight into his ass. I still can't.
No,
It's so
like
fucking
sounds
weird.
at all.
It's so fucking weird.
Extremely weird. It has an energy to it. We'll put it that way. Oh, and during the last fight scene, and it's important to note, there was a survivor in the wreckage who walked out and was holding a similar piece of a blue skull stone, and that's why like it connects these scenes together.
Yes, so they saved this girl / teenage girl / 30-year-old female
30-year-old. I don't know if she's supposed to be an like 18-year-old schoolgirl, if she's supposed to be 25.
She acts very childish in the movie, so I assume so, but it's hard to tell.
It's just really hard to know. It's really hard to know.
But they save her, so they take her back to their secret base underneath the toy shop in Akihabara. And
again, none of these things. We are not making any jokes this episode. There are zero jokes this episode. It is all just us describing this film because there is no joke we can make that will top what this movie is actually doing.
So she's joined the Yatterman crew until we resolve the issue of finding her father, which was sucked into the asshole of the skull ghost.
He's not a ghost. He's the God of Thieves.
Oh, okay. Sure. Whatever you say. So we're at the point where we finished that week's episode. So we're on to the next week's episode. So the villains every week come up with a scam. And then they use that scam to build their robot after getting money from it. It's because they couldn't just rob somebody, right? I mean, that's stupid as hell. What kind of villain would rob someone? They need to have some elaborate scheme to take their money and then spend it, because that's honorable. So what was the scam this week? What was our first scam?
The scam this week was they do a giant bridal show inside of a huge skull theater with skull balloons and like skull flowers.
Like, this
everything.
was easily millions of dollars to set up this theme park with a bridal show, right?
Yes, and they've got like a big dance number and song and dance number with the two henchmen villains doing a bit, and then Lady Durango comes out in the wedding dress, and she's like, "Ooh, happiness is only yours for a mere 100,000 yen, $1,000. Yeah, and then everybody's like clamoring to give them money to get this bride dress, which is less of a scam and more of a business.
Yeah, they're kind of just running a very, standard established business. They got papers and everything from the local
and like
government,
this whole thing where they do a bridal show, and It's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, again, the set design, like when I say that there are balloons and like a giant skull theater and like it's hard to
It's impossible to describe in audio form.
no,
It just
but
is.
it's imagine that every single frame of this is dripping with like skull imagery everywhere, and they've got like crowds of people, and I mean like hundreds and hundreds of extras crowding the stage, throwing money at it. Like they're doing a big song and dance routine. They've got incredible stage lighting. It's shot so well. Like
Yeah.
It's hard to give the energy that this has into an audio format, but just try and imagine a little bit of that like everything is just dripping with scenery. Like the set design has to be so much budget. I can't imagine how they did this movie. How did it get funded?
Oh my god, it's so good.
Like I want to know what their budget for this was, because it looks way better than most Hollywood films. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
It's
right
100% better than most Hollywood films. It's not even
from
close.
A visual standpoint too.
No.
Like the set design is incredible, just incredible. Anyway, so they do the bridal show, and then you get to describe the themed robot. Boyks, go ahead. I described the show. You get the next part.
Thank you. In order to describe the robot, we have to first mention that they also did a villain theme song for spending their money, right? So they get all the money from the scheme.
Right.
They do a whole theme song dance number, a whole fucking 4-minute dance number, introducing the villains and like clapping and dancing. The whole time, the two Pigman and Waluigi, because that's what I'm going to call them, because I understand their real names, but it's definitely Waluigi.
He has the mustache. He has
everything.
The hat. He's a lanky guy. He's got a weird long nose that's strapped to his face.
It is so Waluigi.
Fucking incredible.
So they do a dance thing where they're building the robot. The money is getting, like, the pile of money, the literal, actual, physical pile of money, because cartoon fucking logic, and I love it, is getting smaller and smaller. And then at the end, they've built a robot. So they show the robot to dominatrix queen, because I'm not going to call her name either. and they unveil it, and it's the bride's Mediate bot, which is a giant robot with huge boobs and nipple cannons.
Giant fucking tits.
Just
absolutely massive.
Just the most obscene, gigantic robot boobs.
Just these huge round orbs with giant pink nipple cannons coming out of them. And we were like, wait, did they know they did that? And it turns out they know they did that.
Oh, they fucking do. So,
because then they go, where do they go, Boyks? Where do they take this giant nipple cannon bot?
Well, they have to fly it to the Sphinx in Egypt.
Which is
legally distinct from the Sphinx of Egypt.
It's Egypt. There's there's A-E-I-O and Egypt. Like there's all of them. The Egypt. So, sometimes there's Egypt.
Yeah, there's Egypt, 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 and sometimes Ygypt.
Yeah, so. that one's in flux.
Yeah, Schrodinger's Ygypt. Okay, so the heroes get wind that there's another skull piece in Egypt as well, so they also need to go to the Sphinx, or the Sphinx. I guess it's the Sphinx. So we have a really, really good scene, and this is a running joke of them traveling there. Do you want to describe their travel?
Oh God, right, yeah, this is the first travel scene.
Yeah.
I am uncertain if this is them making fun of the idea of mech cartoons, or if that's like an actual thing from the cartoon. I'm guessing they're kind of parodying it.
It must be a
parody. Guess.
Yeah.
Because like I don't know the source material, right? Like we don't know.
It's so tongue-in-cheek though. It has to be. Yeah.
But what they do is they basically explain that mech sucks shit, yo. Our mech sucks ass. So this is where they also introduce, they're like, we're the Yatterman. I'm Yatterman 1, and this is my assistant Yatterman 2, and my girlfriend Yatterman 2. And
yep.
they're like, we transform every weekend on Saturday at 6:30. Like,
exactly at 6:30.
They tell that. They actually say it. And they're like, now we need to transform. And they go on to Yatterwolf. They do their big magical
They do like
transformation
the comic book
scene.
transform, jump, and the suit comes around them, and lines
Yeah.
everywhere, and
These huge stylized backgrounds. Like, they do the full magical transformation. They jump on their mech, and they're like, let's go to Egypt. And the daughter of the Indiana Jones who gave them the skull piece is like, oh, can I come too? And she jumps on the back of it, and they do a big pose where they've got handles on the side of this giant robot, which, again, they had to build this. Like, this is a literal prop. Like, there's a giant bot that they made somewhere where like they took a truck or something, or like pulled it on a rig. Like, they made like a giant parade float for this fucking movie.
Yeah, they really did.
They really did. And they hold on to the sides of it, and they throw their arms out, and they're like, off to Egypt. And it's like does the Yatterman like big intro song.
This could be a 10-second transition. 5-second, like, just show a line going around the world, like JoJo style. They're in the next location.
Yeah, like do the map, and then it's like do a dotted line, or
they picked a different direction though.
They go wildly different. Yeah. They get on it, they start like jumping across highways and stuff and going throughout the city, and they like jump into the ocean.
Yatterman.
Yatterman, with like the whole theme song going. They play the whole opening theme song for the show, and they're holding on to it, doing their like big grins and like a pose. And then they hit the ocean, and the water like sprays onto them, and they're trying to still smile, but you can tell that it's a little strained. And the girl on the back doesn't have anything to hold on to.
Yeah, she's like holding onto a rail, flying in the air,
and she's like crying and like just hating it. And then like it keeps going, and they transition to night, and they're still traveling, and they're on the ocean, and they're still holding the pose, but they're like soaking wet, and like obviously miserable and crying, and just like, oh god, this sucks so much ass. Why do we have to hold this the whole time that we're traveling?
It's like a 30-hour trip.
It rules. It's so good. They're like visibly sick and tired and just absolutely destroyed. And it's like, you fucking idiots, make something to pilot in this thing. Like, they're so dumb. It's incredible that. So the villains are smarter than the heroes, right? They just accidentally fuck themselves up for whatever reason.
In this movie, the villains are way more interesting than the heroes. Like, not even close.
Yes. Yeah.
It's crazy.
But the heroes are interesting.
They are. They are.
Like, they're actually I mean, like, but I'm just saying it's funny because like the heroes are actually interesting, and these are kind of funny things. But like, man, the villains are even just so much more interesting than the heroes. Beyond that.
So they go through their like 30-hour shit fest through the ocean and the deserts and the jungles and everywhere, and then they arrive ragtag to the stinks of Egypt.
Yes.
Which is where another relic Skullstone is. So they're investigating the runes of the Stinks, I guess. Do I want to talk about the scorpion scene? It's fucking weird. I don't. Is it even necessary? They suck the venom out of the girl, I guess.
Hold up. This is not they. This is where you start getting into the weird horniness, and I think that it's important to set the mood of how weirdly horny this gets, because they're going through the Sphinx, and then the girl that's with them goes, and they're like, what? And she's like, a scorpion, and they pull out an obviously plastic scorpion. It's like the only piece of the set that I was ever like, ooh, that looks bad. It's just totally stiff. But they throw it away, and she's like, where did it bite you? And she pulls up her skirt to show the very, very edge of her inner thigh.
The upper thigh.
Yeah. Like, we're a good inch from our, X-rated territory here. Yeah. And he goes, then both of the heroes clamber over each other to try and suck the venom out first.
Yeah.
And they show it. He goes down on her and sucks all the venom out. And his girlfriend, that's the partner, is like very jealous and obviously upset about this.
Jealous.
Yeah. So that whole thing
Whew.
happens.
So
In the
after that
meantime,
happens,
yeah.
their robot friend, who's a D6 that makes robot. They're not really puns. He just ends everything in bot.
Yeah, it just says
Uh,
every single end of the sentence has to be botty, which is
I
the same way that
guess
the bad villain, like the skull
Eots,
king
right? Or
god, has to say obey at the end of everything. He's
yeah,
named
yeah.
Skull Obey, but at the end
It's
of every
very
single sentence he has to
cartoony.
say obey. Yeah. And I don't know if that's going to be like a pun in Japan. Like I don't know if there's probably something maybe a little more clever, but it's hard to tell because I mean it's a kids show.
The robot accidentally knocks into a statue, breaking the eyeball, and then they find the stone because it was just there.
God,
So.
I just realized that I had the realization that I said, I mean, it just has that logic because it's a kid show, and we're about to get into this
Well,
next scene, and I have to describe.
this movie is very much a kids movie for adults. Like I'm gonna preface this. If somebody is in the room listening to us right now, and we're talking about this podcast, and you you might want to
Put
tell
on your
them
headphones.
yeah.
Do not watch NSFW right now.
Right now. If you're
Yes.
listening to our podcast at work, maybe save it for later.
Warning sirens, like
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So anyway, there's a fight scene before they do the mechs, because there's always a fight scene before the mechs. So the villains show up, they're like, that's our skull piece. No, it's not. And Yatterman 1 and 2 fight Waluigi and Pigman again. This time, they have new gadgets, because Waluigi is a genius who always comes up with cool new gadgets. So his cool new gadget is a hand, an extending hand that attaches to his crotch, and
yes,
and extends out from his crotch to grab things. And yeah, and it grabs the skull piece, and Yatterman uses his ball on a stick to grab the hand and electrocute him in fatality style. So you see the skeleton and everything as it's electrocuting him.
Yeah, they electrocute him in this absolutely absurd cartoon way.
Yeah. So Waluigi's dick hand, not that good of a weapon. Not that good of a weapon. So the villains end up getting their ass kicked eventually by Yatterman 1 and 2 again. And they decide, okay, it's time for the mech. So they unroll the red carpet from the giant titty mech, which rolls over Pigman and completely crushing him underneath, right?
Yeah, and I realize we have to have backstory for this too.
Oh yeah, we do. Yeah,
because so
we didn't
what
talk about their dreams, did we? Already?
Yeah, no, we didn't. To set this up, they talked about how they want the Skull Stone because the Skull Stone will grant a miracle, and then they're like, all of our dreams will come true, and it goes into their dreamscapes, so you could see Waluigi's gross pervert dreamscape, and I really didn't want to. I didn't need to.
Yeah, his pervert dreamscape is a giant pile of women.
It's a mountain of specifically schoolgirls that he's laying in as he does the toenails of...
It's like painting her nails or something.
S&M goddess woman.
Look, Waluigi has a foot fetish, and I'm supportive, but...
ultimately a little put off. Yes. It's... That's the thing, and like when we say a mountain of women, they have a literal mountain of women, and like it's not like I mean like it's CGI'd a bit, but like there's obviously
a pile of actresses. Yeah,
they got like dozens of women to lay across each other interlocked for these two characters to lay on top of for him to do her toenails on as she like does her dom thing over him, and it's a thing.
Weird.
And then you get a really, really cool transition where they go into animation.
Yes.
From to Pigman, and Pigman's dream is him to have a giant luchador wrestling match with a giant dick head.
It's a human body with a penis head. That's wiggling around everywhere, and then he gets the 3 champion belts because he
suplexes him and gets 3 champion belts.
The dick. Yeah, her dream is interesting. Like from a villain perspective, it's interesting. Her dream is she wants to be a normal person with a family life,
which she could do by taking off her costume and not fighting them in a mech every fucking week. But go on. That's her dream. She wants to be a housewife and
She
discover
wants to
love.
be a housewife, discover love, and have a baby, and just be.
Yep.
That's it. That's her dream.
Yep. But like, okay, I want to also, again, when they go into her dream, like, again, just like the animation for this is so fucking cool. Like
Yeah.
the pig guy's animation thing is like really neat, like hand drawn, kind of half CG, half hand drawn, like cell shaded animation. And then it goes to her, and like just like the little details of it, like it's like a setting sun golden hour, and she's wearing like an apron, and it's got all these little skulls embroidered all over it and stuff again. Like there's like all these little details on everything.
There's so much consistency in the set and costume design, like,
and there's so much of it. Like every single scene is just dripping with this. We're gonna have a 2-hour fucking episode.
Oh my god!
Like,
so it goes from the dream. It goes from the dream, and Waluigi's like, "Come on, let's walk down the aisle to their giant titty bag."
Yeah, so she has like the flashback to her dream,
to her cathedral and bride.
Yeah,
and she walks down the aisle in a wedding dress in this cool stylized transition where she's still wearing her villain mask. And the person turns around at the end who she's marrying, and it's Waluigi's like, ugh.
And she's like, "Oh Jesus, no, not fuck. You idiot!" And she, "Oh, you imbecile!" is what she calls it.
Flying kicks him comic book style with a huge head.
Yes, into the
into the mech. It's so
and
good.
Then they're just instantly in the mech, and they're just like normal sitting at the consoles. Yep. It's great.
So they get in the mech. Waluigi's like, "Aha! I'm a genius. It's time to use my secret weapon, the titty machine gun."
Yeah, this is what I was gonna say. When you asked earlier, it's like we were like, "Do they know that that's got like giant tits on it?" Like, aha! Time to unleash the titty cannons, and he literally says "titty cannons." It's
the
like,
titty cannon.
Okay,
the titty...
all right, we're going there.
Yeah,
yep, that's what we're doing.
It's fucking Austin Powers machine gun boobs shooting at, breaking like rocks off of walls and shit. And then and he's like, "Aha, that didn't work, but now my super secret weapon." And the boobs open up, and there's smaller boobs inside. He's like, "My titty missile."
This movie is the greatest piece of cinema to ever exist. But I have to say, it's a little weird that despite how well done this movie is, and this is set up into 3 acts, right? Like there's a 3-episode arc, and we're in episode 2. It's really strange that they have the climax in episode 2.
Yeah, that it ends on a climax.
Slide whistle! I don't have one, I need it!
I can't. This movie doesn't deserve a slide whistle. It's too good for it.
Well, but my joke did. Alright, so, there is a... I'm not joking about the climax.
Okay, so Yatterwolf, the giant dog mech, is there too, and he's getting his ass kicked by the titty missiles. Okay, so Yatterman throws a bow, which we know powers up the Yatterwolf, but we're not sure how it does it, because they haven't told us.
Because we haven't seen it yet, yeah.
So what happens is the Yatterwolf has a apparently factory running inside of it, which produces smaller micro mechs that then fight, because the Yatterwolf fucking sucks. He can't fight on his own.
Running theme in this film that the Yatterwolf is a giant piece of fucking shit. Like, it just sucks.
Yep. So it creates these small mechanical ants, which have giant pincers on them, and they crawl up to the bride's immediate, and then start biting off pieces of it, bite off the robot nipple. They specifically needed to do that. Yep. And then they crawl inside, and they're running around inside the machine. The whole time, the robot is like moaning, and it's kind of gross.
Writhing, and it's grabbing itself.
And as it's doing that, the Yatterwolf starts masturbating.
And they go, "Oh no, Yatterwolf, don't get excited!" And it runs over, motorboats the bride bot, and then they blow up together in a climax.
And in another skull explosion.
That blows up the Sphinx's head, by the way. Like, it blows it, like, comically, like, just the top of the head into a giant skull logo.
Oh my God. Oh my god. We saw that.
We're like halfway through the film.
You and I watched that scene. Our eyes took that in. It went in, got reversed on the back of our heads, went to our brain.
I had to have a refractory period after that scene.
We took a break.
Oh my god. There's so much in this movie. It's such a ride.
So
Oh,
after the orgasm, because that needs to happen.
It's literally what it is. It's not even.
Yeah, the villains are still alive. They crawl out of the rubble. A giant like pillar starts to fall, and Waluigi saves the dominatrix before it falls on her. Is pulled out from underneath it, and his pants are gone. And then there's a really good bro hug between him and Pigman.
The Pigman goes like, Waluigi goes, oh no, I can't go anywhere without my pants, because he's like, he flashes all of them at first, then he gets really embarrassed.
Because he's embarrassed, and the Pigman's just fucking do it.
He goes like, I need to hide. You run and save yourselves. I'll die here. And he goes, don't give up on your life, bro. When people travel to weird locations, they're allowed to get a little crazy. Show them your stuff, man. And he goes, yeah. And they have a giant bro hug, and it's amazing.
Yeah. And then, as they're bro hugging, another pillar starts to fall in the distance. And Yatterman 1 jumps to save the villainess. And they get hit by a rock on the head that's falling after he grabs her and like is holding her like bridesmaid to like the bedroom
like
style
in a swoon kind of
and as his head gets hit, he accidentally falls a bit and locks lips with her, and they kiss. I guess indirectly,
and she instantly realizes that he's the man for her.
Yeah, she loves him.
Yes. Yeah, that's all you need. Yep. See, he stole a kiss from her, and because she's a thief, that was the worst thing he could have done to her, and it stole her heart.
Her heart. What an asshole.
Yeah, it's a fucking wild ride. And of course, like, the other two women are watching this in shock.
Like, what the fuck? And Waluigi's watching this in shock, like, what the fuck?
Yes. And there's like a whole like music thing, like they like highlight just them in like a spotlight basically, and they do this whole thing. Like, again, imagine style dripping out of everything. So they do that whole thing.
They get blown out of the Stinks to the desert at some point. Probably that explosion earlier. I don't even know. There's so much going on. Yeah. And as they're riding away in the desert on their 3-person bicycle.
The villains, yes. They're on a 3-person bicycle, as they always are, with all their clothes burned up and exploded and stuff,
Their ghost god shows up. He's like, hey, I got a bottle of water for you to get you through this. Good job, guys. But it's not a bottle of water. It's a bottle of water hooked up to this long fucking line of wires going to the Sphinx that explodes and drops a sinkhole in the shape of a skull that grabs them into it as well, because, you fucked up. You deserve this.
This is your punishment for fucking up.
God's a fucking asshole.
Yeah, like they grab the bottle of water and he's like, are you all thirsty? And they're like, oh my god, thank you so much. We'll try and do better next time. He's like, yeah, no, it's okay. It's totally cool. And then they like turn it and he goes, wait, click? And he's like, not cool. Fuck you guys.
What an asshole.
It's all these wires. It's just an asshole.
Okay. There's another subplot that happens after this. We're done with day 2. Day 2, episode 2.
This is our longest episode ever.
This is going to be a fucking long episode. Okay, so day 2's done. There's a small subplot that they're showing of things randomly disappearing in the world. So, for instance, randomly a blimp disappeared that had a TV talking about things happening on the news. There's also the entirety of Tuesday and the concept of Tuesday.
Yes, the concept of Tuesday just
fucking gone. And there's a bridge that has a T-Rex on it attacking some cars, but the bridge is gone, not the T-Rex. That's still totally there. And
Yeah,
so,
well, obviously North
yeah,
Americans have T-Rexes in like San
of
Francisco,
course,
you
yeah.
idiot.
Well, I think that's from Jurassic Park 2, was the or 3? 2,
I don't
2.
know.
That's where
It's
they took the
just there.
T-Rex.
They just have like
It's
a
just a
T-Rex
thing.
that's going through like New York.
Whatever.
It's just a
So,
thing. I don't know.
Mount Fuji
This fucking
disappears as
movie.
well because Mount Fuji.
Well,
Uh,
Mount Fuji disappears because a amusement park ride
oh
that
yeah,
was
the
going
fucking
back and
park ride.
forth.
Yeah.
An amusement park ride was going back and forth, and it launches off the amusement park ride because the roller coaster track disappeared underneath it, and it flies frisbee style through the air across all of Japan,
All of
and then
Japan.
hits Mount Fuji in a giant explosion of snow in the background, as you see like two geisha.
Yeah.
In the front, like underneath a tree, like
Yeah.
a tree playing like
It's
classical
so fucking
Japanese
cool.
instruments, and then Mount Fuji disappears in a puff, and there's just like all the snow off of it falls to the ground and lays on the plane. It's
What a cool movie.
what a goddamn movie.
This set up a joke. This set up a fucking joke in the middle of the movie. So the next thing to disappear is a sign, but only part of the sign. So it's a sign for a giant peacock factory. There are two schoolgirls in like the fields looking at this sign at a distance, and as it zooms in on the sign, giant peacock factory, it removes factory and PEA roughly from the sign, and then the subtitles at that point, which is what it reads on the sign, says giant cock. The schoolgirls are looking at it, it's like, I can't say it, and then just run away.
Yeah, and they're like screaming in terror. She's like, giant. I can't say it! And like runs screaming into the distance.
It's so fucking good. I got this movie. This
throwing
movie.
things, man. This movie's too good.
Oh my god.
So that whole thing's happening, and then we get to the next episode.
Yeah, we're on the next episode and the next scam.
Yeah. Oh god, yes. Okay. So the
This
next scam is and she has like a weird bath scene first. I almost want to say
the bath scene.
I just want to mention the bath just because, like, again, they have their giant base and it's all a set. Like, it's not CG. They have like this giant stage with like all like names over it and neon lights for each of the people, the main characters, and then like it goes down a hallway that's all pink and black skull themed, and goes to a giant skull-shaped bathtub that she's in with like skull stickers all over it and a huge skull logo over the top of it and skull faucets, and
it's like candy colors. It looks fucking punk as shit. It's great.
Fucking cool as shit. Yeah, and then their god jumps up from out of the.
They do the whole
tub?
Freddy Krueger bath scene too, where like it starts to rise from the bath as she's in it. She's like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, and she leaps out screaming.
Yeah,
and he tells her like, "You guys need to stop fucking up," kind of thing. And he's like, "You're a thief, but you let him steal a kiss and your heart. There's no time for love for thieves," kind of thing. And he's yelling at her, and
like berating her,
screaming.
Yeah,
and she's screaming. So they run in and they see her, and she's naked but covered in bubbles.
She's covered in bubbles. Yeah,
and so then he goes,
a moment.
"For a small punishment for you falling in love." He turns on the shower head, the skull-shaped shower head, and washes the bubbles off so that she's naked in front of them.
Yeah,
and that's the whole thing, I guess. That's his little punishment. He goes, "Now
go
and stop fucking up." Yeah.
Look, it's a fetish thing.
Every single thing in this movie,
fine.
I'm sure that I'm like, what the fuck? Why did they do that? It has to be a kink. It has to be a kink.
Yeah.
This movie is so weirdly horny in some ways.
That leads into the next scam, though. So the next scam is the sushi scam. So now they're all sushi themed, like robots and everything after this. So the sushi is a revolving sushi table with way larger portions of sushi than should exist.
Like you have to two-hand these fucking
you have to two-hand the sushi nigiri. The shrimp is larger than your head. And they're selling them for 20 yen a plate, 40 yen a plate. Each plate is different colored.
Which those are 20 or 40 cents.
Yeah, like nothing.
Yeah.
Literally nothing. And as they're doing that, They sort of like scan over the crowd that's eating sushi, and there's like 3 older people there, 2 men and a woman, and they're just talking about, oh, the sushi's great, it's so good, and all the villains are like looking at them like, wait a minute, they sound
Why are they
like
doing
me.
dumb cartoon voices?
Yeah,
is what they say even.
Yeah, why are they doing dumb cartoon voices? They kind of sound like us, and it's the original voice actors from the anime, like
Yeah,
in their like 60s and 70s in the movie, just eating this giant sushi.
yeah,
like,
and
oh
then
shit.
then what's the scam? How do they get the
So
money?
the scam is
They
they use a hair dryer to change the color of the plates to solid gold and raise the price to $1,000 a plate, and then strong arm everybody that came into the sushi restaurant to buy them.
Yes, they're like, okay, well, like you bought the colored plates, you know what the colors are, and the gold plates, which these are all gold plates, are $1,000 a piece. So you didn't grab the 20 and 40 cent yen.
They changed them to 1,000 yen and screwed with them. And like, well,
yes.
you ate the fish, man. You have to pay.
You gotta pay. You ordered
will
from that plate.
Sue your fucking ass if you don't pay for this. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then there's crowds of angry people as they jump into their like kind of skull restaurant thing, and it transforms into a giant calamari squid bot because they were doing the sushi stuff, and they launch off with their tentacles into space kind of thing to go to the Halps.
The southern Halps.
Specifically
the legally
the
distinct
Halps.
southern Halps.
Yes. Fuck this movie, man. It's so good.
And their giant squid robot. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So
back at the other base.
Yeah.
They're like, oh no, we need to stop them from getting to the southern Halps. We need to go there. Let's transform. And so they transform, and then they're like, wait, but we don't have Yatterwolf. He got blown up by masturbating and fucking the giant tripod. A thing that this movie does. And so then
don't worry.
Don't worry. I made Yatter King from his core
It's
parts.
better, yeah. So Yatter King, they open up the door. It's just like Yatterwolf, but instead of red, it's just straight up gunmetal, colored.
Yeah, like silver, yeah.
Silver. And it starts, they do a really good joke here. It looks like regular Yatterwolf, and it starts moving closer to the screen. You're like, oh, it's way bigger. So
and
big.
It's like, oh my god, it's huge. It's incredible. Its power must be massive.
And it runs into the doorway because it's too big to leave the fucking door that they built it in.
And they like cut all the music like they were doing like the intro and stuff,
like,
and then they go like cut it, and they're like, "Oh, I made it too big," and they just sit there and they stare at it.
Yatterman.
So then they open up the toy shop. Instead, it had like a little vent in front before that.
Yeah.
And this time, instead, the whole building lifts up so that they can get the bigger Yatter King out. And it like launches on rockets into space to travel.
They do another travel episode.
Yeah, to like,
it's great.
They have another travel montage, and they're going up in like a gear room, and they're like spinning around, and they're like vomiting because they're going into anti-gravity.
Because the G-force, and
and they've got like the whole song over it again, and they're like, oh god, this sucks.
Bad.
They're all crying and vomiting and like just being miserable inside of it again. It fucking rules. It's so good. It's such a dumb joke. And it's like this mech just sucks shit. This mech is the worst goddamn mech. And they make no... Like, they always make... The villains have like a nice console that they sit in. They've got like a nice piloting area. And this one is just like, no, they're inside of this, like the gear mechanisms of it and like rotating around, and it's making them sick and vomit and just like incredibly disoriented, and like they just hate it. It's amazing. Like the heroes cannot build this fucking mech for the life of them. They keep fucking up the absolute worst shit. It's great.
This movie fucking rules.
Oh, it slaps. It's so good.
They fly their mech to the Southern Halps and meet up with the villains, both of which are outside of their mechs, like taunting each other, essentially. The villainess locks eyes with Yatterman 1, and like, oh, and it cuts to like comic book split screen. We're in love. Oh, and they do this really good bit. There's such a good bit. So Waluigi and Yatterman 2 just like start splitting the screen with their hands and opening up and like, no.
Pulling them apart, yeah. And it's like his girlfriend and her like weird henchman that really wants her, and they're both like doing it together, like prying the screen apart. And then like they even hold to the bit where
they hold so far to the bit
because he pulls the screen apart like the Waluigi guy, and then he has to like run back over to go and be with his team again because he was in between them pulling the screen apart. It fucking rules.
So instead of doing another mech battle right now and then, their evil skull Obi god shows up. He's like, "You guys are idiots. I'll deal with this myself." Which, I mean, yeah, should have been doing that to begin with, I guess. Fucking idiot.
And then he totally doesn't deal with it.
No,
it's amazing.
He just spawns Castle Grayskull in the middle of the Southern Alps, and sucks them all into it, I guess, so they can fight inside of this fucking rad-ass gear room instead.
Which is fucking cool. This gear room is amazing. They all fall down into this giant gear room, and like, to give you scale, like Yatta King was like a 40-foot plus tall mech, 50 foot.
Yeah, easily.
And then like it gets swallowed like it is a like penny into a well kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like how big this gear room is. And they've got like gears going everywhere. And some of it, like, obviously the backgrounds are CGI, but like there's a lot of the gears and stuff that they're on that are actual rotating platforms that they had to make.
It looks so good.
It looks so good.
And
it looks incredible.
So many scenes where the characters are like spinning around and just sticking to the bit because they're on a literal platform that's spinning, and it looks so good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Anyway, yeah.
They explain that they have their big kind of fight scene, and then and she's like, even though I love you, I'm gonna have to. She's like, you stole my heart from me, and a thief can't accept that, so I'm gonna have to steal your heart from you. So she goes to kill Yatterman 2 because she knows that that's the one that he really loves, and he jumps in front of the lightning bolt kind of thing that she's shooting, and she's like, no, let go, like, and they've got like this piano music over it and everything, like these big dramatic moments, and they really lean into the melodrama, and he's like holding on to her, and she's like, no, I can't kill you, so she has to stop because she's so sad, and she's like, I'll never be able to win your love, so I guess we must kill you now, kind of thing, and they jump into their mechs.
At the same time, Yatterman 2's like, yeah, you finally noticed I like you, idiot.
Yeah.
So, okay, they jump in the giant mechs, and the giant squid mech is, like, flying around everywhere. So Yatterman needs to throw the bone at Yatter King, which is obviously a larger bone, because it's a larger mech. Duh. And
yeah, it's really heavy, he's struggling with it.
The bone is so heavy, he throws it, and it lands, like, 2 feet in front of him. He's like, oh.
It just clatters, and he's like, oh, shit. Fuck.
Oh, yeah. So, duh, it's too heavy. So he picks it up and starts running towards the mech while dodging the squid robot the whole time. And eventually jumps into Yatter King's mouth with the bone. Yatter King spits him back out, fucking pummeling him into the ground and the wall like a fucking rag doll. Easily broke a couple bones.
We were like, oh shit, like, is he gonna die in this weird factory thing or something? Like, what are they gonna do with this? And then it's like, oh, yuck! And like launches him at like 100 miles an hour into a fucking gear, and you're like,
what an asshole.
Okay, sure, I guess that works.
And then Yatter King does this thing where he spawns a bunch of mini flying fish. This time was his thing because it was a sushi restaurant before, so we need fish themed robots, which is fucking cool.
Yeah. So, although I still don't get what's the thing with ants and brides.
You know what? It's don't worry about it.
that one was a little more confusing to me. Might be a lost in translation.
There might be a translation thing because Catherine. I'm playing through Catherine right now. Catherine does the same thing where there's ants and marriage. So it must be some sort of story that I don't understand or some reference because it does come up in other places. So I'm assuming there was.
I was just like, brides and ants, huh? That's interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so the flying fish appear. Waluigi's like, I'm a fucking genius. Look at this. I also have mini robots. And they're like mini shitty little carp that don't do anything, that just fucking die and that are
They have
crying
little
and like,
springs. They're salmon with like, but like the lower half of them, instead of being fins, are springs,
around.
and they just go like boing, boing, boing around as the other. Yeah, and they're literally crying, like you said. Like they zoom in on them as like they're being exploded, and they're like the robots are like flying through the air in slow motion as they're getting their asses kicked with like tears streaming out of their eyes. It's incredible.
Yeah, and our villainess looks at Waluigi's like, what the hell, man? These things suck. Don't worry. I'm a fucking genius. Haha! Unleash Operation Mech Puberty.
And he pulls out a big microphone and he goes on the loudspeaker and he goes, "It's time to reach puberty." And they all like, I'm not making this up. I feel like we're fucking with people. Like, this feels like an April 1st episode of us just making up shit. It's so goddamn unbelievable. So they all form together into giant balls of light that then become giant, like, adult fish robot things that are buff. Like,
well, teenage fish.
Okay.
They're definitely teenagers. So they're just like punching around everywhere. The flying fish are flying into it and like cartoon like
and now the flying fish are crying like, because they're getting destroyed.
They're crying. They're like, no, our brethren are dying.
Streaming out of their eyes. And he's like, oh no, Yatterman can't do anything else beyond that. They're better than our mechs.
Now, yeah, so Waluigi's like, okay, let's go, puberty fish, kill the king. And they just start punching around, and they start punching each other, and they're punching the floor, and then they turn around and start punching the robot that the villains are in, and the villains are like, what the fuck? What are they doing? Ah, shit, Waluigi had an epiphany. Fuck. They think they're adults.
They hit puberty, so now they're angry teens, and we can't control them.
Yeah!
It's so good.
And the teenage fish bots blow up their swim robot.
And that's how they lose. Like, it's always the villains who undo themselves. The heroes are terrible at this.
No, the villains suck ass.
Like, somehow just trip comically over their shoelaces when they're at the finish line every fucking time.
So, at this point, our skull god hero who sucked Indiana Jones up through his asshole shows up.
I can't describe this movie anymore, man.
Look, so you are idiots. I'll deal with this myself.
Dog robot sits and watches as this skull ghost god that sucked Indiana Jones up his ass jumps into the scene. Like, how is this a movie? That's literally the scene.
They even reshowed the scene in case you forgot.
With the bride bot. Fuck, man. Fuck. I don't know if I can do
this. We're almost done. Just a couple more hours. So, okay. So the skull guy shows up and starts doing theater. He's like, I will soon be a god of the thieves. And I'm going to do this and evil things now that I have all 4 skull pieces, because you have some and you brought them to me.
And basically it's that the whole disappearing thing is that the skull can manipulate space-time, and so what it's been doing is it's been disappearing pieces of things into the gaps of space-time, and if he can get the skull, then he can go into the gaps of space-time and steal anything from any time.
Anything he wants.
Yeah. And that will make him become the God of Thieves.
So Yatterman's like, that's not even your real face, because he's wearing this like fake skull helmet thing. And he's like, yeah, you're right. It's not. It does this like
wait, hold
Hellraiser
up.
fucking
First,
transformation
but
thing,
first,
right?
he goes like, "Haha, you're right, it's not," and he like walks forward a little bit and trips down the stairs that he's on because he can't.
Oh yeah, he
see.
fucking falls down.
And they play the whole thing like he rolls down all the stairs, like he's like stumbling down and like. And then he climbs back up and like brushes himself off, and it's like, oh, you can't see out of that skull, huh? Like, no, sorry, it's so good.
Yeah, idiot. So he does a Hellraiser transformation and turns into Zordon, with a swirl on his head, which is the father Indiana Jones.
Because when he sucked him into his asshole, he also stole his body.
He stole his body. So, okay, now the girl / 30-year-old actress is with them as well. And he's like, Father, no, I'm not your father anymore, but I love you. You're my father. And then she gets like force choked and force thrown around like fucking Vader, just throwing her everywhere.
I have to give you one thing here really quickly because like the ages of these characters is so in flux. How old? I'm gonna get you to guess. How old is Gan? Yatterman 1. How old is Gan? How old?
Yatterman 1?
No,
like
but
42.
in the comic, in the cartoon lore, I've looked it up.
In the comic?
13, yes, 13. You are correct. Ding, 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 ding. Yes,
is that the actual right age?
On the Wikipedia, again, is a 13-year-old boy.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm that good, I guess.
Yeah. So that's 13-year-old. Anyways, moving on. And she seems like she's younger than them. So great, cool, wonderful.
She is getting her ass
destroyed,
completely, just beat up, destroyed, thrown everywhere. He's like holding her to the ground and punching her in the face. And Yatterman 2's like, we have to help her. Yatterman 1, no. Sometimes you can do things on your own.
Like dripping blood. She's literally dripping blood from like her nose and mouth and stuff. And he's just like, no, sometimes justice requires that you overcome your own obstacles. And it's like, it has extremely Gohan being thrown to cell energy. Like, no. Just, it's fine. Let him do it. He'll be okay. Oh.
Yeah. So she starts talking to her dad again, and as he goes for another punch on her face, he stops an inch away, pulls his arm back, stops an inch away from punching her in the face, and she finally got through to him. So he lets her go, and they're going back and forth between him and the ghost god skull thing, kind of inwardly fighting. And it's weird because it feels like there should be.
I want to take this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because he's kicking himself in the balls, and it rules. But there's like no scene of it. It's just like him yelling back and forth.
It's like metaphorically in the balls.
Like, oh God, let go of my balls. No, don't kick me there. And like, it's just him walking back and forth, and like, there's no kicks to the balls, but he's just, and like the whole thing is that he's like, no, don't you go for the balls. That's low blow. And he's like, well, I'm going to kick you in the balls. And it's like, oh God, my balls. They can't take any more of this punishment. Like, that's the actual conversation. That's so good. He's just screaming in agony back and forth. He's like, daughter, I can't take this anymore. My balls hurt too much.
My balls. So he falls down, and then his like skull.
Well, he leans forward, and the top of his head with the swirl on it hinges upwards.
Yeah.
And then the dad's normal face pops out of the top of his head while his other normal face, his weird face, is underneath it. It's fucking wild.
It's so
creepy and
cool,
shit.
though.
Like, you can tell like he's a good gore director, because God, that was unsettling. It looks weird as shit.
And then the daughter puts her hand in the real dad's mouth, in the open skull of the ghost dad, and pulls him out through his jaw, just straight outward, full body.
With, like, accompanying, like, and fart noises even again?
Yeah, like, gross noises, and ugh. It's gory and gross, and I love it.
And he's like, oh, I'm not defeated yet.
And then he turns... Yeah. because they cut back and the
He
ghost
turns
is
into a
Eggman.
giant, like,
It's
fat
fucking Sonic
Waluigi
Eggman.
hybrid. It's wild.
And then a fucking
Because he
Stargate
got all the
opens
skull pieces. Yeah.
out of nowhere. Because he got the skull pieces and he starts sucking. He goes into the Stargate and starts sucking everybody into it. The villains. Starts like grabbing the robots, anything that's there essentially, and just starts pulling it in like a black hole. And the villains go in. Waluigi, Pigman, and the villainess or dominatrix gets pulled in halfway, and Yatterman's like, "No!" and jumps towards the
Yatterman 2. It's
the
Yatta
or-
2. It's Yatta
yeah,
2
he jumps
that
towards
grabs
it,
her.
right?
Yeah, Yatta 2
Yatta
grabs
2?
her, and she
Okay.
grabs her hand.
She does
goes,
it. Yeah.
Love's no fun without a rival. Which, okay, I guess. Sure. Yeah, that's how that works. Love, so you know what's real cool? It's great to have a nice, healthy relationship, but you know what really whips ass? A horrifying love triangle of jealousy and rage.
It's more of a love cube.
It becomes a love pentagram because you got to throw Waluigi in there too.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
True. So they pull them all back out, and for some reason the robot's there too. We didn't even talk about the robot dying like fucking Endgame.
Oh yeah, there was
whatever.
the D6 robot disappears like everybody else does.
There was totally I don't feel so good moment where the robot just like
all the things
fizzles.
being like disappearing from the space-time continuum, including that robot, and then they pull it out as well because for reasons.
They pull it back out, which implies they could get the other things, but they don't.
So Mount Fuji is just lost to space-time.
Yeah, fuck Mount Fuji. So they save. Well, they save the villains after jumping towards the skull and doing a fucking heart pose between two of them, which is fucking wild and whatever. And they do a pose of victory. Yatta!
Oh yeah, they do like a volleyball thing of the skull, like where all the villains like bounce it back and forth, and then they set it up for the other two to spike the skull, and then they spike it together, forming a heart pattern to destroy it. It rules. Like that sounds fucking stupid,
which is important.
Incredible. It rules.
This
it looks
volleyball
great.
scene is so important to my internal lore of this movie. So they do the pose of victory. The heroes and villains depart. We get to a scene where our villainess is now in like normal clothes, and her two henchmen are also in like normal clothes with their goofy haircuts at some sort of a crossroads. He's like, all right, you go your way. Yeah, you go your way, I'll go mine. I'm going to live a normal life now, and you'll be fine. You two are great. And they separate into three separate paths that all walk in, a straight line towards each other. And then they fucking meet. They meet.
Yeah, it zooms. So the camera shot like zooms out as they're going down these three different paths, and as it zooms out further and further, and then it starts panning upwards along the paths, and it's like these three paths in parallel, and then the paths slowly converge again together. This is the
story about how Waluigi gave up crime to pick up Mario Tennis and other Mario sports. It's true. And then later on, as the path converges, he will return to the Yatterman universe. It's...
Yes, one day, Waluigi will get a call from Doranjo, dominatrix queen, and will once again join the Yatterman
And then we
universe.
go back to the heroes who are flying off and Yatter King into the sunset to Yatterman! A very literal into the sunset ending. So we also watched the credits because, I mean, honestly, we were just fucking raving about the movie. But there's an end credit scene.
We stood up and clapped.
Yes. Yeah. At the end of the movie, they do like the next time on Yatterman.
Yes, they go next episode. Tune in next week. And they do the whole thing like a Saturday morning cartoon
it's
would.
Like
and it
Squid
rules.
2.
And they're like, the villains are
the
back.
whole thing wraps up like the cartoon would. The villains walk their separate way, but they're going to converge. They're going to come back. Everything is the same for next week's episode of Yatterman. And you get to relive this
Not everything. because there's also
Oh,
White
yeah!
Doranjo who shows up. Yeah, they pull out like the fucking so the villainess. They're sitting there and they show her in this white costume and they're like, and appearing for the first time, White Doranjo.
Who is she? Could be anyone.
Like, do this whole it's great. Well, like the Black Doranjo, the one that's totally there, is looking at her like they're both on screen at the same time.
Wait a minute, is that her sister? Like, I'm literally like, I'm excited. I want to watch this. Give me that fucking Yatterman too. I want this.
And they have, and they even set it up because they also have like another weird Eggman guy in a weird cathedral, like with his clothes all ripped up, and he's like, "My brother, no, I will avenge him."
It's classic end of episode commercial. What's happening next week? Cartoon TV bullshit, and I'm so here for it.
It fucking rules. It fucking rules. Do you want to rate masturbation?
That robot fucking sucks.
It sucks.
It's not Chevy Chase.
It's the dog, and I was hoping that it would be. I was hoping that it would be fun to have the dog robot. Yeah. It's the only. If there is one disappointment in this movie, it's how much. Although it's kind of funny how much they make fun of how much the dog robot.
If you had a Gundam movie where the Gundam was the worst part of the movie, like by far, and all they did was shit on the Gundam. That's basically this. And I'm kind of here for that, in a way.
Because they make fun of it in a good way. Like, they make good jokes out of it. Like, the whole travel transition scenes are incredible.
Like, you know how James Gunn like, shit on everything Scooby-Doo? But in, like, a negative way?
Yes.
This is the polar opposite of that. It's making fun of it, but it's with a wink at the camera.
With like, okay, we know this is very stupid and we're gonna make fun of some of the stupid shit that this show does, but also we anyway.
It's not just being an asshole and saying this sucks in like some pessimistic bullshit attitude.
No, and this show is like, it's colored like candy all the time. Every scene is just
like a visual. Every single scene is like that magic eye where you're looking for something, or like an I Spy. You're like, oh, there's something. There's something I didn't see. Oh, what's that? And you're just constantly like visually stimulated throughout the film, but not in like a, oh god, I have a headache, Michael Bay way.
Yeah. So I have a need to explain, because people are going to go like, well, if this movie rules so much, why the fuck did you watch it for this podcast? It has bad ratings. It has terrible ratings. It has a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. We said that our cutoff would be if it's 50%, then that's where we'll end it. This is 50%. But it's 100% in my heart, Boyks. This thing
I already bought a copy for myself, so yeah. It's going to be a struggle to watch it, but you know what? It's worth it, Yatterman.
Because, you need to buy, like, a PAL Unlocked, Region Unlocked DVD player, PAL Region DVD player, and a PAL Region DVD, and ship them all overseas to here, and it's still worth it. Like, it's still worth it.
We have never gushed this much about a film, and been this excited afterwards, and, man, this is making my whole goddamn day. Real talk.
This is, like I said, like, again, it's not a so bad it's good movie. It is a so good it's good movie. And it is absolutely one of my favorite films of all time, period. Like, if I were to look at, like, my favorite comedy movies, this is top 10 easy.
Yeah.
Right now, today. It just 100% makes it. Like, it's just that good. It's an amazing comedy. It's fantastic. It's funny. It's weird. It's like the visuals are just an explosion of color every single scene. It's a perfect adaptation of what a Saturday morning cartoon feels like. There's so little to be mad about.
Other than the weird pervy stuff.
Weird bride masturbation climax.
The robot. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the robot, they make fun of that, though. I'm fine with that. That's there for a reason. The only reason why I'm kind of negative on that is just because I had been expecting a fun dog robot, and we got a shitty dog robot. But then they kind of made fun of how shitty it was, and I was back on board.
Yeah.
Like, it still doesn't mean that the dog robot isn't shit. It's incredible shit. But they constantly made fun of how shit it was, and that actually redeemed it entirely
I feel like
in
there's
my
only
eyes.
one way we can end this episode. So, victory pose, Yatterman. Guys, I'm hooting and hollering over here. You gotta watch Yatterman. No, yes, I'm over here. Yes, watch fucking Yatterman. All right.
Oh. Thank you for watching Rough Cuts this week. We have had an explosion of downloads recently, and
Yes!
into a skull logo at
Yes!
the end of it. Nuclear explosion into a skull logo. We've had a huge blow up on the episodes. We've got lots and lots of downloads recently. We really thank you all for that. If you have like suggestions for movies or comments on things, you can send them into roughcutscast@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Believe that's it. Yes, roughcutscast@gmail.com. We also have a Twitter where we will be putting up some stuff, like some screenshots and things of movies that we watch and different things like that all the time. And that is just going to be Rough Cuts Cast as well, at Rough Cuts Cast.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man.
God damn.
Thank you all for, like... And thank you all, too, for the incredible, like I said, support recently. We've just had an incredible explosion. Like, the last week beats any month that we've ever had of downloads by a lot. So, I'm really glad that you all are enjoying this as much as we are. And this is my all-time favorite episode. I'm going to be so sad when we have to go back to shitty movies. Oh, man. Oh, it's going to suck.
Look, next episode's going to be terrible, and we're just going to have to live with that.
So that means that we're gonna do Look Who's Talking Now.
Well, anyway, I gotta go. Bye. I'll see you later next time. All right, I'm out. Fuck you.